he was such a humble man. He would never, ever, the thought would never enter his head to self-promote. He would never use that to get him anything or get him anywhere or to enable him to be treated any better than anyone else. He never saw himself as any different to anyone else.
Yeah. He told me he used to use a Bren gun. He used to use, was it Thompson that the corporals or whatever used? Yeah. So apparently I don't know, that day, I think the Bren gun must have got shot and he's taken over the Bren gun.
Keith can tell you that story. He
was
saying
someone else.
Someone handed him the gun.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
That's the way.
Well, I thought the story was that the other guns were prone to jamming.
Yeah, they were. But
And so he had it in his brain that this is what he was going to do, so he took a more reliable gun.
well, just the stories that he told me, he said the Owen gun, I think it was, that they were issued with, right? He said, from here to you, for 10 or 15 feet away, they couldn't even mow the jungle down. He said you needed a Bren gun to clear a bit of country if you wanted to get at them.
They said that at no time was it like a bull rushed through a gate. He thought it through. He aimed at the pillboxes that were nearest to him that posed the biggest threat, that he seemed to have thought through what he was going to do step by step, and that's what he did. It wasn't like he was doing a bit of swearing at the time, as you would, but the people that were there said no, they didn't think it was a mad panic and take that,
And so,
throwing everything at you.
being a good shot. He's a boy from the bush, and he grew up shooting foxes, rabbits and everything, And my aunties used to say, he'd hardly shoot a rabbit sitting. He'd always make sure it was on the run and that sort of thing. So, it's not as if he's just come out of bloody, high school and gone shooting. So, and even, when he come home, I used to go shooting with him down the lake, along the lake's bank, and rabbits, And he'd say, there's one sitting underneath that bush over there, Rob, can't you see it? And I couldn't see a thing. And he'd say, just have a good look and you'll see his eye twinkle. That's all you could see. So, they're the sort of things country fellas are grown up with. Yeah. And I think they get into a jungle atmosphere. They're just made for it, They know what they're doing. I'll tell you this one story that he told me, and I never forget it, right? He's up there in Bougainville, and he said, we're in camp, and, the latrines there were just a big hole in the ground with two big posts across them, So you just sit, in between the posts. So anyhow, he said the boys used to go down every morning, before daybreak for their crap. And he said, anyhow, one morning this bloody sniper opens up, see? And the 3 or 4 fellas lined up there, the sniper opens up, so all they could do was dive into the pit to get away from it, right? And he said, we had this native scout, his name was Willie Silly, Fuzzy Wuzzy, see? And he said he used to stand back laughing his bloody head off, see? He said, this happened 3 mornings in a row, and Willie Silly used to nearly cark himself laughing, And he said, yeah, right, so he said the next one, because Willie Silly was bright, so he'd go a bit earlier than the rest of them. So he said, this morning Willie's down there and the sniper opened up on him. So Dad said he come out and he's coughing and spluttering, and he said all he said was, I get him. And he said 5 minutes we heard one single shot, never heard the sniper again.
Wow.
I remember I was in high school and we were asked to do a project on the war, and of course I had an easy subject, so I that was on the front strand to read the paper, and I went out and I said, okay, I've got to do this project, I want some inside info, doing the journalist bit, and he just said, no, can't, you don't want to know about that.
Yeah.
And that was it, off he went.
But when you got your motorbike, and he had,
don't go there, my God.
He had to come out and have a ride on it. He said, I rode these in the war, blah, blah, blah. So he comes out and he rides it straight up the fence over to school. A bit more power in them these days, he said.
What we have here?
That's what we have, eh? This is the original. Dad kept it in the shoebox in his sock drawer for all the years. He lived in West Wyalong. He put in his will that it was be passed down through the family, so that's one of the reasons I've got it. And it'll go to my kids, so it'll keep going. That's the way he wanted it. He didn't want it sitting in a war memorial or in a museum or somewhere. He just wanted it out and about, I suppose. Or when you think of the money means nothing. Like I said, it's worth nothing to me because it'll never get sold. So
I think personally, I'm only still grasping how significant it is, having grown up with it in the family, seeing it all the time, Still, I'm learning You know,
Snake catchers used to come from Sydney, and they used to catch them and take them back for the serum, to milk the serum, like at the serum laboratories. And this was tiger snakes, yeah, mate, nearly all tiger snakes out there at that stage. So they used to come down, and Dad would just go down. When I was a bit older, I went out a couple of times with them, and we'd just do the spotting, right? So we'd walk along because we knew where the snakes were, because that's where we shot our rabbits, see? You're dodging snakes to get the rabbits. So we'd go along, we'd say, there's one just there, you can see him, and they'd just walk over. They had a prong stick they'd put behind their head and pick them up by the tail and put them in a bag,
In
see?
a canvas bag.
And so, me and Dad probably carried the bag, so they had plenty of room to move when they were catching them.
How many did you catch on a good day?
Well, the last time I went out, I can remember over 300 we caught one afternoon.
One day.
In one day. That's when they were really thick. They were really thick at Lake Hill.
so glad I wasn't around in those days.
Because you're so brave, George.
Yeah. Not when it comes to snakes.
It was, I remember walking along Lake Cow holding Christine's hand. Were you there? Do you remember that, Hel? I don't know if
No,
you were
I
there.
went snake catching once.
Yeah, and Dad and Eric Worrell are walking along, and we were spotting snakes. And I was like this high.
Yeah.
There's one, Dad. It was just, yeah.
But I remember one time I was staying at the farm with Dad. We walked in the back door one afternoon, late one afternoon after work, and lino on the floor, and there's this, and there's a tiger snake straight in underneath the bloody refrigerator.
Oh, you don't worry about that.
So Dad just took the front bit off and he's looking in, I can't see him anywhere, we'll have to wait till he comes out. So, he's there for 3 days before we found him.
Oh.
I remember the story about Dad used to have a sleep in on a Sunday, and Jan, the older sister Jan, she goes out to the outhouse.
Yeah.
Dad, there's a snake in here. Wait your turn. Councillor Liz McGlynn put forward the motion that a monument be erected for Dad in the town. We were asked to go on a consultative committee. They asked for expressions of interest.
Yep. So
Josho put the word out and there was a lot of
Would have been 24 or so that I got to put in applications, tender for it, which was good. We had some choice.
We thought it was something that was dignified and really honoured Dad, and I liked the fact that he's actually in action. Some people might not like that, I don't know, but I thought it had motion, it showed exactly what he did on the day, the deed that won him the VC.
It's the iconic image of him winning the deed, and I love it because it's not traditional, it's a bit different, and that's what I love in artwork, something a bit different. And it's him to a T, you can recognise him, you can even see Rob in him, same snoz,
We all had to have our photos taken.
Didn't Rebecca go there?
Yeah, so even my granddaughter, my daughter, Reg's granddaughter, the artist, sculpture, what do you call him?
Yeah.
He does a bit of everything.
Brett Mongarling.
Yeah, so we all just rocked in there one day to his gallery, and he just took photos of us all. He said, look, all I do, I take photos, I pin them on the wall. And he said, every morning I walk in, I look at them. And he said, I'll pick a trait, maybe one trait or two traits.
From each of you.
Well, Helen was there. You went up once, didn't you?
Yes, I was there.
So he took photos of all the
for about
family.
an hour.
And he just said, look, I'll pick a trait. And he said, if I can get that into this statue, it'll be real. It'll be real. So that's what he did. He just found the big nose, I suppose. And he said, he said, this is what we'll go with.
I walked in and that was it. I just howled. It was like looking at Dad. It was just.
He said, what do you think your father say about this? And I said, he wouldn't give a bloody bugger. Yeah,
What would you go and do that for?
It's not something he would look for.
Yeah.
Well, when we were growing up, the only thing that was different to us that I can remember, it might be different for Rob, but was that Dad led the march every Anzac Day.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing.
You didn't know why?
Well, we knew he was decorated. We knew he had a VC, but when you're in primary school, a VC is just 2 letters. It's not,
So,
it's not until you get a little bit older and you think, well, Dad's invited to speak at the cadet passing out parade. And you think, oh, that's pretty cool. And you go along and he's and everyone's applauding, and then, you know, suddenly you start to grasp that this is a big thing. It's just that Dad never made a big thing of it.
You'd walk up the street with Dad and all these people would say, "Hey, Mr. Rattey, hey, Reg, how you going?" And Dad say, "Who's that?"
You talk to old mates. I was only visiting an old friend of ours the other day, you know, and he's in his 80s, I think. And, yeah, he talked about it. You know, I went out to Reg's one day looking for food to fish because Dad used to catch fish out of the lake, see? And he said, you know, here he was lying underneath a header, you know, fixing a header. And he said, "Oh, g'day, Reg, I just come to see if I get a couple of fish off you." And Dad yelled at him, "Yeah, I won't be a minute," you know. He said, and he heard this clang bang, and he said, next minute, Reg throws a tiger snake out. And he said, "I've been after that bugger for 3 hours here." He said he's been annoying me, you know. And he said, so then he just rolls out from under the header, goes down. He said they throw a net in the lake, and, you know, he said, "Oh, you know, we'll go and have a drink or something and come back." And he said, an hour later, he comes back, you know, and we go down, there's bloody 3 or 4 good fish. So he said, "How much do I owe?" And he said, "No, she's right, mate. Thank you very much." Yeah.
You like this fishing?
Oh, I love fishing, yeah.
Yes,
You remember that
got
day?
fond memories of going fishing with Pop. I was only 6 years old when he died in '86, but I still remember him fondly. And fishing is probably one of those memories. Digging worms, and we used to take Carmel's daughter, my cousin Shannon, and I down to the paper shop to get the paper every morning and
Feed them chocolate for
give us a Kit Kat before breakfast, and
They come up out of the car with chocolate all around.
And I'd say,
Granddad
"Did
buy
Pop
you
give
chocolate?"
you chocolate for breakfast, Shannon?" She'd say, "No," because that's what Poppy told her to say, little Sarah. He would
Same as
often,
the officers' mess.
yeah.
They wanted him to go in there, and he said, "No, not unless my mates can come."
No, he said, "I've been drinking with privates all day, and if they can't come, I won't be coming for a drink."
Yeah, so
And
they
that
all
was
got to
on
go.
the day, the announcement that
The announcement.
on the VC,
Yeah.
they threw a party for him, and he refused to go, and because he was hanging out with the privates, his mates.
Yeah.
He was
And that's
And
what
when after he was promoted to sergeant, a lot of his mates
they
didn't
said.
even know he had been promoted because he never wore his stripes.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And the
it's
same
just,
thing. They said, yeah, they didn't know. When he won the VC, they said he was out on parade. It was only that the fella calling out names, Reg Rattey, that they knew he'd won the VC. No one else on parade knew he'd won it.
Didn't tell anybody.
Didn't tell anyone.
It really opened my eyes as to what it meant for Dad to actually have a VC and how it affected him when he came home and it was announced. To go from being a quiet country bloke who hadn't even been to a dance before he went to war to someone who suddenly was standing up in Martin Plaza in front of thousands of people giving a speech asking for donations to the Australian Comforts Fund for the troops on the front line would have been a huge leap for him. And I honestly believe that he would have rather been on the front line than giving those speeches, but he did that because that's what was asked of him. Dad took everything in his stride. Nothing seemed to faze him, would you say that?
That's right.
He was very casual, very happy-go-lucky,
But he did it anyway.
but he did it anyway.
Yeah.
And that's what I saw all the way through in the process of doing the book was he did everything they asked him to do. He didn't question it. He got up and did it.
Yeah.
But later on, when that was all over, as he got older, he preferred being on the farm.
Yes, I remember it was a big do. I remember meeting Keith, and it's a Hercules helicopter. They offered to take me up, and I was too scared. Kind of regret that. But yeah, it was a big thing.
He was the organiser, yeah. He rang as soon as he found out Dad had passed away and just said to Mum and the family, you know, your father's entitled to a military funeral. If you want that way, just give me a ring. Yeah. And he said, just have a talk about it and see what you think. So we had a bit of a talk and Mum said, well, look, take a fair bit of pressure off us. So she just rang Keith and that was it. It was organised. So, oh yeah, no, it was a big funeral because, you know, people on the street, the main street and everything, because, you know, I suppose everyone knew him virtually in Wyalong at that stage. Yeah.